From Prague, behind me you can see the synagogue, the oldest synagogue of Prague. And in this place, the legendary Golem was created. And Golem, as you know, is the first legendary robot in the history of mankind, the first artificial intelligence that was numb but could understand, of course, the commands and could think and move and so on. So, first robot, of course, following the legend, and the first artificial intelligence. As you know, robotics and artificial intelligence are both exponential technologies, and today I will be talking about the 6 characteristics of exponential technologies, about the 6 Ds of exponential technologies. See you after a short break. Hi again from Prague. 6 Ds of exponential technologies. 6 characteristics of exponential technologies. What are they? Let's start with the first D, and this is digitalization. Everything starts in exponential technologies with digitalization. Let's take digital photography as an example. At first, photography got digitalized. Many of you may not know, but until, let's say, 1990s, there was no digital photography available for the end consumer. Everything was made analogically. Everything was made on paper. Everything was made in chemical processes. This was a technology that needed a film that you put in your camera, and you took a picture. Of course, you had a limited number of pics that you could take on one film. It was like 24 or 36. You put it in the camera. You took these 24 or 36 pictures, and you didn't know how the pictures would look like until you developed them. And to develop them, you brought them to a photo studio. They had some chemicals. They had this photographic paper, and they developed the pictures for you, and then you could pick them up on a paper, 24, 36 pictures, and only then you could see if they were good or not. But you have to pay, of course, in advance to pay for the development, and after that you could see if they were good or not. And there were only these kinds of cameras, and very professional cameras, and so on and so on. And of course, the art of photography was the knowledge how to set up this camera in order to get a good pic at the end, and not be surprised that they are not sharp, or that they are too dark or too bright, whatever. So, first step, digitalization. The next step that follows digitalization is dematerialization. Meaning, if stuff is digitized, you don't need all these physical components of the technology. In the case of digital photography, you didn't need the films anymore, you didn't need the paper, you didn't need the chemicals for development of the pictures. So it got dematerialized. Everything became bits and bytes. This is what digitalization is about, right? So you removed many, or in some technologies maybe all, of the physical components. So this is the second D, the dematerialization. What comes after the dematerialization? The third D of digital technologies, of the exponential technologies, is the demonetization. Meaning that after you have digitalized and dematerialize the technology, you don't need all that physical stuff around that. And that makes it much, much cheaper. You can scale that technology much better because you don't need to produce the digital stuff in order to make this technology happen, to make the process happen. In the case of digital photography, you don't need all that paper, you don't need all these films, you don't need all these chemicals. And on top of that, you don't also need the laborious process of development, right? Before the digital photography, you needed to go to a photo studio to get your film developed. These people, they needed to invest time and money and spend time and effort to develop your pictures, right? To take the film, to develop the film, then to make the projections on the paper and also to develop the paper. So there was some process needed for that, and this made the technology more expensive than when it was digitized. So at the end, you need much less money to employ the technology, to use that technology, and at the end, if you scale it to some extent, at the end it becomes zero cost. It becomes virtually free, right? Right now, you can take pictures for free, actually, right? Because you have your phone with you, you take picture, it doesn't cost you anything. You can look at that and erase it and throw it away because it's not an effort and it doesn't cost money, right? Earlier on, you had to pay for the development, and then you could see if this is a good picture or not. And it costed you always money, independently if you were satisfied with the result or not, right? So, demonetization. The fourth step is democratization. And this is, of course, also a consequence of demonetization. Because if something is very cheap, or if it is free of charge, if this is virtually free, everybody can afford that. And so today everybody can afford a mobile phone, and a camera is included in the mobile phone. By the way, because of the dematerialization, you could include these technologies, you can converge these technologies, pack them up in bigger collectives or conglomerates, like in the case of photography, right? Earlier you had a phone, separate, maybe a notebook, a separate camera. You had all these gadgets. Today you just have the phone and you have all these functions in this one device, right? Because of the dematerialization of the technology, one of the, of course, of the reasons. So, democratization was the fourth D. The fifth D is the deception. So the exponential growth is a deceptive growth. This is the nature of the exponential function. At the beginning, these are very small numbers. You don't see that technology developing, coming up. It stays deceptive. It stays unnoticed until it hits this inflection point where it really takes off, and then suddenly everybody is using that technology. Suddenly it's available and it's cheap and it's dominating, right? So deceptive growth. In the case of digital photography, the first digital cameras, let's say the prototypes, they had like maybe 10,000 pixels, meaning 100 times 100 matrix, and they were black and white. So you couldn't recognize much on that picture. So the guy who invented that, he was actually a Kodak employee. It was in 1970. In 1970 something, he came to that management group and showed his technology. The digital technology of taking pictures. And these guys, they looked around and looked at him and said, well, what is it? Is it like a toy or something? We don't see anything. It's like it's 100 times 100 pixels, white and black. You don't recognize any pattern on that. Is it really working? And by the way, we are a professional company providing best quality pictures, and you are coming with such technology. This is something for kids. This is not something that we can use for our customers. This would destroy our image, and so on and so on. There is no way somebody could use that technology in a sensible way. So they just rejected that technology, and other technologies, other laboratories were developing that technology in the background. At first it was only 10,000 pixels, then it was 100,000 pixels, then it was 1 megapixel, 1 million pixels, right? So 1,000 times 1,000, more or less. And this is the time of, let's say, 1990s, 1993, 1994, were the first commercially viable end-user consumer digital cameras came up on the market. And I remember I was one of the first users in my family, in my environment, of these digital cameras, was taking pictures, and people were telling me, my family and so on, okay, it's fun, but why don't you take pictures with a real camera? Because these are not real pictures. You can't, they are not tangible, right? You can't hold them, you can't put them in an album. Maybe you can see them on the computer, best case maybe on the TV later on. There was the technology to see them also on the TV screen. But generally, I mean, you couldn't do much with these pictures, and they were low quality. Why don't you take real pictures, right? But I knew that this technology would develop further, and then you would have at some point a digital store of all your pictures, and these pictures that you didn't have digitally, you will have to either throw away or like keep them in one place somewhere, or digitize them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to take them with you, and so on and so on. But this was the inflection point. Shortly after that, suddenly digital cameras were everywhere. Everybody was using them, and then it came to the last D of digital technology, of the exponential technology. This is the disruption. The disruption phase, where this technology takes over the industry. In the case of digital photography, this was roughly 2004, let's say, where up to this point, the largest, the best photography company, Kodak, went bankrupt. This company were also digital photography was invented, but they rejected it. They didn't introduce it. They didn't develop it. They didn't commercialize it, because the main business was in the analog photography, in the traditional photography. This was the customer base. This was the cash cow. This was the business, and they didn't want to disrupt their own business. So they got disrupted by other companies who developed this technology and who provided this to the masses, who digitized, who dematerialized, who demonetized, who democratized that technology. At the end, there was a simple choice for a customer. Either you use the traditional technology, you pay a lot for the camera, and then you pay a lot to use that camera every time, or you use the technology that is virtually free. You get it with your phone. You just take a pic. It costs nothing. You can erase it. You can move it around. You can send it. You can take it with you. You can take 100 and 1,000 and 10,000 pictures. Doesn't matter. So the choice was simple. That's why the traditional technology got disrupted by the exponential technology, by the digital photography. So these are 6 Ds of exponential technology, and these 6 Ds apply to any exponential technology. You could take any example and apply these 6 Ds to that example of another exponential technology. I wonder what your ideas are. Maybe you can give examples of other exponential technologies and describe their 6 Ds, the digitalization, the demonetization, the dematerialization, the democratization, the deceptive growth of that technology, and of course the disruption phase, or the disruption that this technology made, or that this technology inflicted. If you want to find out more about exponential technologies, I invite you to read 2 books. One of them is called Bold by Peter Diamandis, another Exponential Technologies by Salim Ismail. These are 2 guys who think in big dimensions, who are committed to develop these exponential technologies, to analyze, to research these exponential technologies. So I hope you like this video. If yes, give me a thumb up. If not, thumb down. Subscribe if you haven't. Share this video with your loved ones, with your friends. One day they will thank you for that. I talk here a lot about how this world works, how the best entrepreneurs in our world think and act, how to do great, impossible things in your life and business. I talk a lot about economy, about money, sometimes about cryptocurrencies. So if you like this video, you will certainly like my other videos. I invite you to watch them. That's it for today from the beautiful Prague in Czech Republic. I wish you a fantastic day. Let's do something extraordinary today.